Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. Prince Harry has been recently spotted. Today, October 30th, the Invictus Games Foundation briefed the NATO Military Committee at NATO headquarters on the role of Invictus in supporting wounded, injured, and sick service members and veterans. Prince Harry addressed the military committee via VTC with a delegation attending the meeting in person. The delegation briefed the military committee on the breadth and development of the Invictus program and the progress it's making to expand the scope of its mission. Admiral Bauer emphasized the importance of protecting Allied wounded servicemen and women, veterans, and their families. He highlighted the invaluable support and hope the Invictus Games Foundation provides to the wounded, injured, and sick service members. Today's military committee session follows up a meeting between the chair of the military committee, Admiral Rob Bauer, and Prince Harry in May 2024, where Admiral Bauer attended the service of Thanksgiving at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. This relationship between the Invictus Games Foundation and NATO is something that's been ongoing. The first appearance of the partnership between the NATO alliance and the Invictus Foundation went all the way back to Dusseldorf. Remember, we saw Harry and Meghan having that big photo with all of the NATO alliance members and their family during the Invictus Games. And speaking of the Invictus Games, the Invictus Games 2025 merch is officially available for purchase. So if you're interested, check out the website.
What's this? Oh, nothing to worry about. It's just Prince Harry looking very smart, wearing his poppy with pride, casually addressing all the leaders, teams and representatives of the 32 countries that make up NATO. Yes, that's right. On the same day that Prince William's documentary about ending homelessness drops, where Prince William is seen looking very concerned carrying a folder, Harry pops up and briefs the leaders of NATO about Invictus. What Invictus does, why it was formed, how they can support Invictus, which directly then supports their service people all over the world, and what the future of Invictus is. Just look at him. He looks like a statesman. He looks like a leader. He's been invited to present to those leaders that control economies and countries all over the world. William is walking around with a folder, looking concerned. Do we need a royal family in 2024? Harry's not a working royal. Look what he's achieving.
And recently, the official Twitter page for Clinton Global Initiative posted about the previous meeting. It's been weeks since Prince Harry has taken part in the Clinton Global Initiative in New York, and I spy Prince Harry. Besides the Duke's unexpected appearance at the video for NATO, Harry and Meghan have been pretty low-key since their recent engagements. No doubt sort of enjoying the spooky season with the kids, probably going Halloween trick-or-treating tomorrow, and also there's so much conversations about the upcoming election, so perhaps we'll see them after that. Interestingly enough, the press seems to be, or I should say the royal reporting section of the press has been counting down the days since we've last seen Harry and Meghan do a joint engagement, and I will always maintain that they are far more obsessed with Harry and Meghan than Harry and Meghan fans. It's insane. The part that made me chuckle the most is this. We are in the midst of something of a Sussex plus Sussex drought. One argument to be made is that maybe they simply don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone after 2 kids and 6 years of marriage. As Meghan herself said, when the tides were rough, they squeezed each other. Nothing can break us. Above all, love wins.
So I'm watching a Meghan and Harry documentary, and anyone that believes that all of the vitriol that's directed towards Meghan is not racism, you are delusional. It's so obvious to me that there's a person behind the vitriol that she's receiving or that Harry is receiving. It's obvious that a certain person or a group of people, but I think it's a certain person, got upset because Harry and Meghan were getting more popular. It just seems like there's someone in the family that could do more, and they're actively choosing not to. They keep talking about this thing about the institution of the family, and the institution is how the message is driven. But this man right here could definitely do more, but he's choosing not to. And so is he. He's also choosing not to do more. He's actively choosing not to do more. When the two of them are telling their story, they're making it very clear that Harry was already out the door. Anyone that believes that Meghan dragged this man away from the royal family is delusional. He did multiple stints overseas to avoid this family in a war zone. White women that keep making commentaries on and the British media, Meghan had nothing to do with him leaving. You're the reason why he left. And I think you guys are not only racist, but you're bothered by the fact that the two of them genuinely have a unconditional love for each other. He was never going to pick you, any of you. He picked Meghan because she was a better fit for him. She was the one that made him move forward with what he was already planning on doing. She gave him a reason to divorce his toxic family and the toxic British press. Toxic, racist British press. And everything that Meghan said that you guys were doing to her in the documentary, you're doing today. There was a part in this documentary where they talked about this small group of people that were responsible for a lot of the Meghan hate pieces. And they showed a bunch of white women that were making commentary on the topic. They talked about how these people would tell people how to make multiple accounts to bash Meghan. And you see in a flash a bunch of white women. And then you look up and you see what? Those same white women proving her right. I'm really glad that they made this documentary because I already knew that the British royal family was garbage. I knew it as a kid when Princess Diana was still alive. So seeing Meghan go through the same toxic ebbs and flows that Princess Di went through and combine that with racism, that lets me know that I wasn't on the wrong path back then as a kid. And also, I think it's interesting the point that they made about the British Commonwealth being predominantly black and brown people, and how the royal family and the British public missed a genuine opportunity to unite the Commonwealth with this woman of color. But instead, they prioritized racism. Good job, guys.
Led her to leave the royal family with Prince Harry.
Harry's a real man. And because he's a real man who honors his commitment to his wife, a part of his commitment and promise was to protect her. So based on that promise, Harry fled the UK with his wife and child for their protection. And even if you don't believe that he fled the UK for his protection and that was his choice and took his wife with him, you would then have to explain how the same man would rather spend 10 years of his life at war than 10 minutes at home with his family.
And while Harry and Meghan are in a new era where they're doing things in their own time, in their own way, the Windsors sort of struggling to figure out how much more of these international royal tours are they really going to be doing? Is it worth it? This recent tour for Charles and Camilla got a little bit of attention. It's nowhere near the amount of fanfare and public interest that Harry and Meghan garner, even now, 4 going on 5 years after they've left the firm. And also, quick observation, did you guys see the photos of Camilla laughing during their trip to Samoa? The tone of the articles is what's most interesting to me. Had it been someone like Meghan who was laughing while the locals were providing entertainment for her and Harry, they would have plastered it for months and months. And this is not the first time that Camilla has done this. We've seen her laugh during Indigenous performances before, on more than one occasion actually. So I feel like this is just a very interesting portrayal of why Camilla spent so much time trying to foster relationships with members of the UK press so that they will provide her favorable coverage. Harry was right. And this is how you pay homage and respect to the Indigenous culture. Also, I remembered hearing about a upcoming documentary or show about Camilla that doesn't necessarily paint her in a very positive light. And apparently Channel 4 has had to reschedule showing this quote-unquote special. It has been pulled off air for the 2nd week in a row. So this just goes to show you the palace has a tremendous amount of power that it chooses to use to clean up unfavorable content about certain members of the firm. And while we're talking about the firm using its expansive power to protect members of the firm family, there have been a few more stories about Charles and the Royal Lodge and will he, won't he? And I'm happy to see that I'm not the only one who takes that information with a grain of salt.
You know the problem with deadlines and ultimatums, right? You have to be prepared to enforce the ultimatum if someone breaks the deadline. And I think this is exactly what's going to happen between Charles and Andrew. If you didn't know, Andrew has the choice of losing his royal protection, because that costs extra money, or moving to a property that's already covered by royal protection. And the deadline, actually, I believe, is tomorrow, the day before Halloween, probably appropriate for Andrew, the 30th, Wednesday the 30th of October. What is going to happen here? I actually believe this is a complete smokescreen. I believe Charles is giving the public the impression that he is dealing with Andrew's sins of the past by enforcing harsh punishments on him. This is part of the punishment. I don't think Charles will go through with it. I actually think Andrew's got so much dirt on the whole of the rest of the royal family, which is incredible, really, in view of the dirt that's been flung at him as an individual. I think this guy's got so much dirt, he's basically completely... He will be in that house for the rest of his life, complete with royal protection, and he won't have to spend a penny.
So there will be a new documentary released, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because it really doesn't matter. But to sell the public interest, or to garner public interest, of course, Harry's name was used, even though he really doesn't have anything to do with it. And it just goes to show why Harry preferred to be anywhere but in the palace for so many years. It's a lifetime of using his name to rehabilitate the public image of two members of that family, or used to garner engagement about something or that's being sold, or an article or a documentary, or it's being used as a scapegoat, as a distraction. No wonder he wanted out. I would feel the same way as well.
There has always been this competition between us, and the British press is part in that. They pitched the Waleses against the Sussexes, me and my wife. They always pitched us against each other. They pitched Kate and Meghan against each other.
Harry claims members of the royal family and their staff fed stories to the press and refused to set the record straight on false reports.
Do you have any examples of some of those stories?
There's a whole handful of examples in the book. But while I was writing the book, we were on version 29 or 30, all of which involved my wife supposedly making numerous people within my family cry, which just simply wasn't the case. For historical reference, like, the truth needs to be there, and it needs to come from me.
How would your mom feel?
I think she'd be heartbroken about the fact that William, his office, were part of these stories. And William and I made a pact, made a deal that no matter what, we would never let our offices fight.
He broke that pact?
Yes, no, the people that he employed broke that pact.
During the time of the Windsors, the British media, as it came to be known, has grown from a minor imposition and promising new civic communication resource into a hydra-headed corporate monster, dominating the social landscape with irresponsible, if not psychopathic, intent. The Windsors' failure to acknowledge this threat to peace in their kingdom, or to grapple with the beast as it overshadowed the palace itself, manipulating truth, principle, history and power for its own gratification. Worse still, the palace's secret craven collaboration with the monster, and the king's ignoble failure to back his own champion, his own son, when the young prince stepped up to the battle. For a noble lineage, these are historic missteps. With robber barons running the parliament, the mounting misery of the people will surely bring the downfall, not merely of the House of Windsor, but of the monarchy itself.
Well, looks like they figured a way to market that gosh darn documentary. The irony is not lost on me that a media that called his mother paranoid and his brother irrelevant are now using both to sell him.
There is a profound and intense loneliness that comes with being the person in your family that realizes and points out the dysfunction.
New 6-part series based on the New York Times article, A Royal Instagram Mystery. Starts in January 2015 when Prince Harry and Prince William and Kate Middleton shared an Instagram account. Then when Prince Harry and Meghan became engaged, it was an account for all four of them. That is until April 2nd, 2019, when Sussex Royal launched. By January of 2020, it's where Prince Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back as senior working royals. At this point, as Sussex fans, we were grateful for this Instagram account because this is where they were able to upload Queen Elizabeth's support of their stepping back. We'll get back to the daily pivots after this 6-part series, but don't forget to leave your comment. Back to the Instagram mystery, a summary of the New York Times article. Once Harry and Meghan announced on Instagram in 2020 that they were going to be stepping down as full-time working royals, which, by the way, is not the same as stepping away from a life of public service, they were told by the palaces that they were going to have to relinquish, it says, their Sussex Royal handle. This article, though, is asking us to back up to the time when the couple split on Instagram. Kensington Royal, Sussex Royal. This New York Times graph shows pre and post Meghan, right? So we've got the Queen's birthday, Harry and Meghan's royal wedding, and then the Sussex post. Meghan had 2 million followers of her own, thanks to her popularity on Suits, as well as her blog, The Tig. So it should be no surprise that when Meghan was introduced to Kensington Royal, their numbers tripled. In 2018, it appeared as though the offices were synchronizing their in-person appearances as well as their social media posts. But then in 2019, Harry and Meghan began what it says, a gradual separation. I remember when Harry and Meghan split offices and hired new staff. That was when Sussex Squad was in full swing. We had been watching from afar the Kate Mean Girl antics as well as the secret briefings from Will, Chuck, the Consort, and Carol Middleton. After all that, we got Sussex Royal Instagram. Here are Meghan's pre-royal stats. We noticed right away that Sussex Royal was very polished and very purposeful. It says here they had their own signature color and typography, things Kensington Palace didn't have. The differences were only growing.
Meghan and Harry are buying a new house in Portugal. Maybe, possibly. We're trying to manifest it. Is this like when they were buying property in Los Angeles, Malibu, New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Montana, Arizona, or Long Island? Hey, some of those are made up. Are they? Which ones? Vermont? Are you sure? Okay, well, I think we're done here. This one's different, we swear. Really? How so? It just makes sense. They need, you know, a European hub so that they're like close to Eugenie, the one that likes them, right? Africa, they do a lot of stuff in Africa because so that they're like, they could come to England more and like, you know, maybe say hi. Do you have any proof they bought anything? We heard it from a guy. Okay, great, I think we're done. Wait, the locals are really upset about this. Ugh. They're mad that public lands and beaches have been taken away from them to build this thing. You said they bought a house, not public land. They totally bought a house that is on a golf resort that has not finished being built. Sounds like the locals are actually mad at venture capitalists and the billionaires funding this project and the government officials that allowed the sale of these public lands. These people can't go camping anymore. They can't go camping with or without Harry and Meghan. If we redirect some of this anger, then it's going to be easier for us to buy information when they do move to Portugal. Do you really think they're going to move forward with this purchase now that you've told the entire world where they're going to be? Yeah, why wouldn't they?
With all this election talk, I am anxious and overwhelmed, looking forward to the end. Also looking forward to see the respective shows from Harry and Meghan on Netflix, as well as them at that gala that's supposed to be in honor of Tyler Perry, and just looking forward to seeing what more is in store from the House of Sussex. And with that being said, I think we've come to the end of this video. Wherever you guys are, I hope you're having a wonderful day.